like to give an update of the situation here in Haiti with regard to humanitarian assistance and the requirements for a further development of support to the affected population. Overall, the situation remains calm. The humanitarian and protection programs are working fairly well in spite of very precarious prevailing conditions in the ground. We now have a new element into the movement of population. Approximately 500,000 people have left the capital, have moved back either to their places of origin or they have simply gone outside to decongest the city and are seeking help outside. As you know, they represent a new great concern to us because they're going back to places that even pre-earthquake were not equipped with any kind of resources to support them. And it is giving an additional weight on the families that are receiving members back into their villages or communities. I would like to go through the various sectors of support of humanitarian aid. WFP's search operation to cover the needs of 2 million people is going very well. So far, they have had around 95% of the population targeted being served by this search operation. Rice distributed for a 2-week period. This operation is supposed to be completed in another week. We are 1 week into the operation. By that time, 2 million people would have had a reserve of rice for 2 weeks. After the search operation, WFP will resume distribution of full dry ration for the same target population of 2 million. In the meantime, and while the search operation was ongoing, supplies were given to orphanages, to hospitals, and to communities that are considered vulnerable. On the food side, this is fine. WFP is reporting to have available enough food to carry on this sort of a large operation during a few months. In terms of water, so far the cluster has been able to reach people with water, mainly water tankers. As you know, the system has collapsed, serving 800,000 people. The situation is reasonable, obviously not sufficient, and scaling up is a challenge. One of the main problems linked to water is sanitation. There, the situation is truly critical. Only 5% of the requirements in latrines were covered so far. UNICEF has launched an appeal to get more latrines in, and finding solutions in an over-congested city in order to open new latrines in public places has been an issue that is currently being discussed with national authorities. In regard to shelter, so far 50,000 families, that is 250,000 people of the 1 million people, have received some shelters, that is between the tents available and the plastic sheets that were distributed out. The concern now obviously is the rainy season that is about to come. So regarding shelter, we are now considering the setting up of some hazard-resistant or hurricane-proof type of shelter. This is obviously a more a better solution, a more costly one, and probably it would take longer to bring them in here. We would recall that the port facilities are not operating, and basically these equipment are very heavy and they would need the port to be open, so to be able to bring them in. Otherwise, bring them in by planes would have an enormous cost. But they are very necessary. The government, in discussion with the UN, has indicated that probably those rain-resistant shelters will have to be placed at some strategic places inside the city, so that in case of rain, People could seek some refuge there, but most important, we are trying to identify some sites outside of Port-au-Prince so that people could be evacuated when the rains come. We have more or less 2 months, and in fact time is getting very short because rain could come earlier. There is another concern in terms of logistics, in the sense that the humanitarian corridor that has opened up between the border of Dominican Republic and Haiti is now gradually getting flooded due to rains and the rising of the level of the lake. Discussion between the MINUSTAH and the U.S. Army is about finding an alternative road that could be maybe strengthened to allow for this influx of trucks coming in with relief support. We have running currently the 12 clusters we informed earlier. Of those 12 clusters, I would simply like to recall that we're working on logistics with WFP, on shelter with now at this point with the International Federation of the Red Cross, the camp coordination under IOM, water and sanitation with UNICEF, health with WHO, food with WFP, as well as emergency telecoms, protection with OCHA, nutrition is UNICEF, education again UNICEF, agriculture is FAO, and early recovery with UNDP. I would like to make a special comment on agriculture. As you know, inside the flash appeal, the request presented by FAO has not been met sufficiently, and it is now getting urgent to get agricultural inputs into the country and start preparing for the planting season in May. Otherwise, if that season is missed, it would mean that humanitarian distribution of food will remain needed and at a very large scale for a long time. It is therefore very important that agriculture be supported immediately to allow for an early recovery to be initiated without any delay. We do have also another issue regarding the capacity to restart very quickly all the risk reduction that we were working before, mainly on watershed management. There are 13 watersheds that represent very serious risks for the population living in the areas below. These projects were ongoing before the earthquake. We would like to start that immediately. There is a plan to introduce massively cash for work into these areas to be able to, first of all, to put people back to work so that the population will contribute to the reconstruction of the country. In addition to that, there will be a higher level of risk reduction and preparedness for the rainy season and the hurricane season. And also, this mechanism, when working full scale, would allow to cater for the needs of the displaced people who have gone back to those areas I mentioned earlier that do not have means to support them, and their livelihood is currently a great concern. In regard to the updating of the flash appeal, we are getting ready for the relaunching of the updated appeal on February 17, and I can already say that as we know more and as the assessments are coming back from the outposted areas that were affected by the earthquake, figures of requirements are going up, and this appeal is expected to present now an updated requirement with much higher figures. In terms of key challenges, we are left obviously with the capacity, the joint capacity of the government and the international community to scale up the operations fast enough so that we reduce the level of vulnerability. We reach the people who are outside of Port-au-Prince. As you know, there are like 7 or 8 areas that were severely affected. we think a lot about Jacmel, Leogan, but as assessment missions are moving inside the country, we're discovering new places such as Cabaret, Marigot. We knew about Gressier, but Gressier is small. So every time they're discovered, the first action taken is to truck the food in for them and water. But again, in terms of shelter, they are being added to the group of people without any protection for the rainy season. You would recall that the government launched a special appeal for 200,000 tons. I don't think that we have enough at all to be able to help them during this transition. But now, on top of shelter, we do need support to get into the country as soon as we can some hazard-resistant shelters where people could be evacuated to, because many of them are living right now or camping under very dangerous slopes in the city that in the past have been affected by mudslides when the rainy season comes. Integrating early recovery into the humanitarian relief support is very important. This would allow us to reduce vulnerabilities and reduce tensions while we were promoting self-sufficiency, and in particular now in the agricultural sector. We are now preparing as you know, the post-disaster needs assessment and preparing for the conference in New York. This is allowing all these collective efforts to be looking forward onto the recovery and reconstruction of the country, and I think it would complement the requirements in terms of humanitarian support that will be at least needed for a longer period of time as we discover every day the expanded magnitude of the earthquake on the population and on the infrastructure of the country. Thank you.